Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. My name is Star Raptor, and welcome to the channel. This is my spoiler-free review for Star Wars: The High Republic: Path of Vengeance, written by Cavan Scott. This is the closing book for Phase 2 of the High Republic. Remember, Phase 2 of the High Republic is the exploration phase of the High Republic. This actually predates Phase 1, Light of the Jedi, by about 150 years. So we are the furthest back in the timeline, about 382 BBY, if you want to be specific. Thank you very much, Star Wars Timelines. So getting into it, this book is pretty much a sequel, a direct sequel to Path of Deceit, which actually was the young adult novel that kicked off Phase 2, which was written by Justina Ireland and Tessa Gratton. In that book, we are introduced to Marda Ro, the mother, Kevmo, and Yana as well. So this book is the book that also focuses, again, on Yana, on Marda Ro, on the mother, and on a brand new character that was introduced in the High Republic comics, also written by Cavan Scott, Maddie, and she is a red Twi'lek Jedi Padawan, and she gets entwined with this whole conflict. So this book really takes us right after they leave Dalna in Path of Deceit to where they reach the Battle of Jeddah and then the Battle of Dalna. Remember, all roads lead to Dalna and the Night of Sorrow, which is a big event that's spanning just different materials in the High Republic. So this book, when it comes down to it, is the book about the villains, right? Where you have Cataclysm, which is the kind of the adult version of this book, which takes place at the same time Battle of Dalna, where you're focusing on characters like Creighton's son and Ada Forte. This book looks at the bad guy perspective, but not everything is as clear as day. What I like about the story is not everything is going to go the way you think, such as Luke Skywalker said in The Last Jedi. This book takes you places. It is a roller coaster of emotions. There's definitely lots of feels to be had, but also lots of adventure, lots of horror. Just every big touchstone of Star Wars is in this big familial conflict. So you're dealing with family, right? Yana and Marda Ro are cousins of a people, the Everini, that have been completely decimated over years and years of war. So their people are the last. Her and her sister, or the cousin, sorry, are the last of their kind for the most part. So it's very interesting. I mean, they're cousins, but they almost feel like sisters, is why I kind of said that, because they're just so closely bound. This story tells you about the path of the open hand, continues the journey of this Force cult that wants to keep the Force away from the Jedi. I feel like the other sects of the Force that study the Force are utilizing the Force in ways that is going to take it from other people, and that's really the crux of Phase 2, is this path of the open hand, saying the Force shall be freely given, and you should not be using this as a way for your own personal gains, such as the Jedi often do to their perspective. So we're seeing that, and it's great that we get a Jedi's perspective, a Jedi Padawan and Maddie, to really bounce off of the ideals of these characters and whatnot. What I like about one of the big elements from this book is ghosts from the past haunting the characters. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't read Path of Deceit, Kevmo is a Jedi that Marda Ro falls in love with, even though she's part of the Path of the Open Hand and is not supposed to love the Jedi because they are the mortal enemies, essentially. But she falls in love with Kevmo, who then gets killed by the Leveler in Path of Deceit. Now, in Path of Vengeance, you have Kevmo's ghost basically haunting Marda Ro, and she has his lightsaber and uses it a few times, and you see just how much she's getting into her head. Also, crossing over with that, you have her cousin Yana Ro, which is being haunted by her Nautolan ex-girlfriend that died thanks to the mother, and she's also kind of haunting Yana as well. There's also a little romance in here between a Novician and Marda Ro, which leads to more hate for the Jedi and the Force in general. So there's lots of great personal conflict. And what I like about this story is it is very a personalized story, but it really is important with talking about and telling the future of the Star Wars, the High Republic era, and why things go the way they do in Phase 1. This is the origin story for where we see the Nihil, essentially, and we're getting to see that slow decline of certain characters that will be the catalyst for why things happen the way they do with the Great Disaster 150 years later and all that sort of thing. This book, the way it's written, Cavan Scott does a great job of sort of transcending the young adult kind of tropes, right? And it feels more the way it's written like a regular full adult novel. I mean, this is a big, hefty book, right? I mean, this thing, look how thick this book is. It's over 500 pages of High Republic goodness here, and this just feels grand. It feels like there's a lot of weight to these characters, and their significance will affect everything going on in the galaxy going forward. I feel like there is great payoff. This is a book that wraps up a lot of things. Not every storyline is going to be tied up from the High Republic Phase 2 in this, because they're going to be dealt with in their subsequent comics, like the High Republic Adventures, Nameless Terror, and Edge of Balance Precedent are still coming out. So even though this is the final closure, there's still going to be a little bit more closure, but from the payoff we get, seeing stuff from the High Republic comics come into play, seeing stuff from Path of the Sea come into play, fantastic stuff there. What I will say is Cavan Scott is the James Gunn of the Star Wars galaxy. I love all, what I mean by that is James Gunn kind of puts in these really obscure comic book references and still pulls at your heartstrings, and I feel like Cavan Scott does the same thing, right? He loves putting in these very far-fetched species like Hoopaloos and these different species that have mainly been legends. He pulls them back into canon, and he has a good time doing it. And he adds a lot of suspense, a lot of heart, a lot of heartache. There's so much horror in this book. I gotta see the Battle of Dalna on screen someday. At least we're gonna get some images of it in the Precedent manga coming out soon. But I gotta say, this book is a 9 out of 10 for me. I couldn't really find much going on with this book that made it that much worse as far as, oh, I can't take points off for this. Maybe it was a little long in the tooth. I feel like most books I could say that, but this is a damn awesome book that I can't recommend enough. Again, if you are into Phase 2 of the High Republic, do not skip this book, because this book has the answers that maybe you didn't get from Cataclysm, that I had a negative from Cataclysm. Is like, oh yeah, this character's not dealt with. We get those answers in this book. I liked Phase 2 as a whole. It started off kind of slow for me, right? You build up with Path of the Sea, quest for the Hidden City, and Convergence, but then this Wave 2 of Phase 2 of the High Republic was, for me, the most consistent wave of the High Republic so far, kicking it off with quest for Planet X. Then we got Cataclysm. Then we got this. We got Path of Vengeance, all like 9s out of 10 at least for me. These books were fantastic. They took what was built up as the build-up books for that first wave, and they just ran with them and put these characters in situations that, again, is why I love the High Republic. You don't know what's going to happen to these characters. Nobody's safe. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. Cavan Scott treats this like George R. R. Martin as well, just laughing maniacally in these interviews about him. You know, certain fates of the characters fans want to know about, and he's just laughing. I don't know if they're alive. I don't know if they're dead. I like that playfulness with these characters, but it adds credence. It adds a little bit of risk and lots of sitting on the edge of your seat moments as I'm reading this book. So yeah, if you couldn't imagine already, this is a great book. Go ahead and pick this one up if you are a fan of the High Republic, especially for Phase 2. So for more on the High Republic, I have an entire playlist dedicated to this very subject. Go ahead and check that out, and do hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel, guys. I'm just less than 50 subscribers away from 2K, so I would love to get there as another big milestone for the channel. Help me get there. Just simply subscribe to the channel. That's good for me, Starp. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.
Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @StarRaptor.